go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Florence, December 11th meeting. And your Herman is going to lead us in prayer, reflection, inspiration, pledge, and four-way test.
All right, please bow with me. Dear Lord, as we gather here today as members of Rotary, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day, for each day's duties, and for each day's problems. We pray that you continue to bless the work that we as Rotarians from many nations and of many faiths do to help those less fortunate. For we believe that our Rotary motto, service above self, can make the world a better place. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I was waiting for the flag.
We have the red flag.
All right, we're going to do the pledge now. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're really going to test me now.
Well, we could test the whole group.
Yeah, we could. All right, let's do the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it benefit all better friendships?
fourth.
Is it benefit all concerned?
Yeah. You missed 3 weeks, you missed a lot. They changed Rotary all the way around.
And we welcome Sean back, who is moving around.
Yay. Thank you. Sorry I've been away. All kinds of good things happening. Wednesday will be four weeks since the new hip replacement. All right. Things are going great. There is no rehab. They went in through the front, so they don't do rehab. So if any of this would ever happen to any of you people here today, then that's kind of the way it works. So glad to be back. Really, really glad to be back. My wife's been a great nurse. Thank you for the emails and texts and things like that to see how I was doing. So it's another great part of being part of this group. So thank you. If your son or daughter is still playing baseball, keep it up. We just had a $70 million a year contract. I'm sure everybody gets one of those. So the Dodgers are paying Shohei Ohtani $70 million, but you know that's one player out of 435. So you might want to. When I coach kids, I say that's 1 out of 435. You understand that? And they go, yeah. Well, I'm going to be the next Shohei. So we'll see how that goes. Who Day boys are back in town. That's right. Having a good thing there, and all of our college basketball is underway. Congrats to Cooper making it to the state finals in football. That's a big deal. They still have some younger players coming along, so that might be there for a little bit. Good to them. And remember that the Dodgers are paying Shohei $70 million, and the Reds' payroll is $59 million. So there's always hope for spring. And I got a good question for Ed Monahan. Why does 41 degrees today with no sun feel colder than 41 degrees yesterday with sun? Oh, never ask an attorney the question they don't know the answer.
They said he's got to start the meter first.
Yeah,
The sun's out.
Thank you.
We are still looking for a treasurer to replace Ian, so he can get going on his presentation.
I forgot one thing you're probably going to talk about, but Santa Claus is arriving sooner than later, and Santa Claus is already trying to help people out there with collection boxes. And I see little people here today, and I'm telling you, there's some good things happening in our community.
Yeah.
And I know some of the elves are in this room, so we all better behave.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Just a reminder, RLI, Rotary Leadership Institute, is going to be back January 22nd, 27th. I think that's a Saturday. It is going to be in Lexington. So if you would like to attend, learn more about Rotary, develop some of your leadership skills, or if you have someone in your organization that you want to start developing and growing into leaders, it's a great opportunity to do that. And it is free with our membership, as with a lot of our training. Wednesday this week, philanthropic pints down at the Met Club. Actually have been conversing emails with some, I think it's the president-elect designee of Kenton County. He would like to do a regional 5K, including Greater Cincinnati and stuff. So I'm calling it a presidential generational meeting. So they're the current presidents, the next presidents, and the president's designees. If we can get there at 4 o'clock, they want to have a discussion about that potential 5K. But it's a good time to meet other people. I've gone to a couple of the meetings the last couple of months, and just to meet people from the other clubs and hear about what they're doing, what's working, not working. It's a good networking time, and it's very laid back. One-to-one reading. So, of course, last week we had our big day with Sheila Bear, former FDIC chair, and I've got some pictures and a video. But I received notification that Boone County Schools is actually going to honor our club during the Good News portion of the meeting this Thursday night because of our support of getting books to the kids and just the whole day. So if anybody wants to join me, that's the first part of the meeting. The meeting starts at 7. They do Good News and you can leave after the Good News. And then the Kentucky Financial Empowerment Corp actually did a video. Let's see if I can get this to go. Gotten a lot of really good PR out of that event last week. I'm in me and the schools. So thank you everybody for your support in that. There we go. The Christmas concert was also last Monday night, which I understand it was a sellout crowd. No, we don't sell tickets. 500-600 people. Great night. Gotta give kudos to Gary Short and all the hard work he does for that, and all the anybody who went out and helped him. There's lots of pictures and videos. He had set up a Facebook page, and I think Will actually went in and edited videos. I saw them pop up yesterday or the day before. Steinford Toy Drive. Gary.
Yes, we picked up toys today and tomorrow, and of course we can pick them up later than that, but most of them we picked up today and tomorrow, and have gotten, well, you can see on the pictures there, that's St. Elizabeth, Florence. Yeah. And then they had 18 boxes.
Wow. Yeah, my God.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Mural Financial, I'm picking up in a few minutes, yeah, they've got.
They said it was their largest collection yet.
That's great.
So we got other, picking up the other places, we got had some new places, we had 2 elementary schools. I don't know about it's maybe just a class, like a second grade classes or something, but, and our own new air conditioning is new, so we got some new people,
Yeah,
but
I
they
think
seem to be.
I think Bourbon House and Oak Brook.
Yes, so we had Bourbon House,
Yeah.
the Y,
Yeah.
RC Dirt. So it's been, and I really think some of the Facebook stuff we've been doing and driving people, I think there's people actually, at Steinford, there's people who recognize the Steinford Toy Foundation. It's been there for 70 years doing this, so, yeah, been going good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So thank you, Gary, for coordinating.
Yes, thank you.
That's a lot.
Gary's doing a lot on that.
It's easy being Santa Claus.
Julie, did you mention the, how much money we raised at the concert?
No, I didn't, because I don't know.
It's about 4,100 and
Was
some
that
change.
total?
Yeah.
Total was right, okay. So net proceeds will be about 2,000 for the fund. Just a reminder, Ian, do you want to say anything?
Excuse me, yeah. So this fundraiser is ongoing. I guess from my previous report, there were some questions, so I want to kind of head those off. So the promo is running from the 4th of December through the 18th. Your tickets would have to be purchased within that window, but you can buy them for a future date. So my family actually is going tonight, so that's $15 back to the club. Hopefully, some other folks, will get out there and enjoy it too, but, yeah, the promo code is active. You gotta use that at the very front of the transaction, and then it'll price the tickets appropriately. It's $11 per person, and then $3 of that comes back to the Rotary Club.
I think Jim had a goal of 200 tickets, is that what I
Yes.
remember you saying? Okay. When we did the event at Stevens on Monday night, Will stood at the door and handed flyers out to every single family that walked out, so he was a flyer pusher.
Good.
I think Tim's got some posts scheduled on social media, and I'll be doing a push out on that too. Don't forget to get into DACTV, and if you're not DACTV, get with Marcus so he can get you in, so you can get volunteer hours logged and make sure your information's correct. And now, we're probably in prime shopping time. I know I did a lot of shopping this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm very cognizant that I figure out what I need, how much dollar-wise on gift cards, and then I go to Kroger and I pick them up, and then the club gets benefits from that, and I get fuel points, and I get my shopping done. So don't forget to do that, or if you go out to eat, we actually went to Outback Saturday night, and we stopped at Kroger on the way, picked up an Outback gift card, and then headed to Outback for dinner. So it's a great way to build up the amount we receive from Kroger. Happy dollars. Anybody have happy dollars? John?
I got $2 for 3 announcements.
Okay. A politician.
Man, they're tough.
Oh, man. Hey, you got me some great ammunition, baby.
First, I'm sure everyone's heard that Governor Julian Carroll passed away, I think, Saturday morning at 4 a.m. He was a friend of Rotary. He was a Rotarian. I think came up and spoke at this club several times. So he was a great person in Northern Kentucky, Beverly Hills fire. He was governor in May of 1977 when that tragedy. So he passed away. I would assume his funeral will probably be Saturday. I think it's kind of interesting because we're inaugurating a new governor tomorrow. I'm going down for that. I know Judge Moore's going to be there. That's going to be an exciting day, and I'm looking forward to participating in that. And lastly, next Monday, at our meeting, my friend Senator Robin Webb is driving up from Carter County. That's a long ways. She's a very interesting person. You know, Damon Thayer was here, and he's got a lot of information, but this gal's a lot more entertaining. And she will be here. She's done all kinds. She's been in public service for probably 40 years, and served in the Senate, served in the House, big game hunter. She's a very non-traditional, amazing person, and she's very funny to listen to. So if you can make it, please come to that because she's come a long way to get here.
Awesome.
Here's $2 for my 3 announcements.
Anybody else? Happy dollar? Well, I had one, and my one was for Mr. Wilmhoff here for all that he's doing for the Steinford Toy Drive. So. Anyone else? Where's Don? Over here. Oh, there he is. You can introduce?
Okay. I've been looking forward to this for a long time because I've always enjoyed art, and Christian's art is on a grand scale. He's, as you'll be able to see, he's done some projects in different areas. He'll talk about that. Lawrenceburg is an area that he's done a lot, and some amazing pieces of work. So it's an honor to have him here with us today. A true artist. A few years ago, I bought his dad's house. And as he was helping move things out of it, he started telling me about things. He said, "You know, when the snow comes and there's a full moon out there, just wait until you see the light on the golf course. He said it's just gorgeous, and it didn't disappoint. So, but he's spoken like a true artist, I thought. So, Christian, please.
Thank you guys so much for having me out. I figured I would just kind of go through my process of start to finish of how I paint a mural. Little background on myself. I was born and raised in this area. I received my BFA in painting from the University of Kentucky in 2011, and basically since then I've been painting murals. I would like to say that when I was young, I showed a lot of interest in painting and drawing, and my mom, I had a brother and a sister, and my mom wanted to get us all into something after school. And she got me in after school art lessons, and I became an artist. And she got my brother to get in after school piano lessons, and he became a pianist. And she just had my sister hang out with my dad, and she became a lawyer. So I've broken down the steps to painting a mural. Sometimes there's more than one of these steps, but this is kind of like the main pillars of start to finish to painting a mural. You have your design process, then you have to measure the wall, you have to create a color palette and color mixing. There's wall prep, equipment needed, equipment that you need to rent to help paint at that large of a scale. The design transfer, the painting, and then the varnish. I wanted to go into a little bit of detail with the actual design process. I think for a successful mural project, I think the design process is the most important. I always tell people that you can have the most talented painter, but if the design isn't any good, then the mural's not going to be any good. So I kind of wanted to emphasize that. You know, a lot of clients that come to me, they have no problem spending $10,000 on paint to paint the mural, but they don't want to paint, or they don't want to pay for the actual design process. So I wanted to definitely emphasize the importance of that. And also too, through my 10 plus years of experience, I have found that in most cases, it takes as long to design a successful mural as it does to actually execute it. So in the early design process, the way it typically works is I get a phone call from a client that shows interest in me coming out to design and paint a mural for them. The very early stages, I like to come out, I like to meet the client, I like to measure the wall, make sure everything's in order, and then ask all the big questions right away so I know what I'm getting into, what the goals are of the community or the client or the company that they work for. So now I figured the best way for me to describe the design process and all the steps to painting a mural is to kind of give a few examples of my past work. So this is a mural I painted in 2021 for Cincinnati International Airport. So the way this mural got started was I got a phone call from the CEO of the airport, Candace McGraw, as well as an organization called Artworks of Cincinnati. And I went out and I met with the client. I got all of the desires and goals of the mural project. So this is actually what the design brief looks like that I received. They've kind of broken it down into the different aspects of what they're looking for in a design for this mural. You have your aesthetics, the content that they really would like to have, and then even content that they don't want to have in the mural. And just for this, I figured we'd focus on this area that's highlighted. So a lot of times these design briefs, I always tell the client, be as specific as possible, because that helps me when I'm sitting down to design to know exactly what the client's looking for. So as far as the airport, they were a little vague, but these are some of the top points that they wanted to see in the mural. Connectivity, bridging gaps, movement, mobility, motion, travel, transportation, exploration, pioneering, innovation, what's on the horizon, that's kind of one of the airport's slogans. Structures, bridges, roads, pathways, and then of course, Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, pride of place. So this is kind of the design brief continued. They showed early images to me before I actually got on site. So this is the wall before the mural was painted on it. And down here is an architectural drawing with all the measurements of the wall as I move forward. This is another thing that's part of the design brief that's very helpful to me. When I'm out designing, it really helps for the client to let me know exactly kind of aesthetically what they're looking for. Do they want it to be more realism, or do they want it to be maybe more kid-friendly? So including this kind of really helps me zero in on at least the aesthetic that they're looking for. So again, these are the major points that the airport was looking for in the design. So once I have all of that information, the first step, what I like to do is I pretty much do an entire week of just research based on the design brief. You know, things like the history of the airport, Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, different types of aircraft that have flown at CVG throughout its history. And what I do is I create these design templates. You know, I compile thousands of images based on the research, and they create these templates. And what I do is I have a main template with the wall where I'm designing, and I can have all of these open in my computer as well, and I can pick and I can place those in the design and kind of see where the design is headed in real time. And that, I think that really helps me. Here's some more design templates. I also wanted to mention the famous mosaics that are at the airport. The airport was very interested in having a similar aesthetic in the mural, so they would relate to those mosaics. So this is one of the design templates. This was one of the designs that they didn't choose, but this is kind of what I'm talking about before, where I have the main wall in my computer. It's to scale, and then I have all of these elements, you know, like a cheese coney or an old image of the airport that I can plug and play and try to create something that's very interesting and visually pleasing. So this is the design that they ended up picking. This is what I submitted, and this is what they approved. This is kind of a detailed version of that. And the biggest thing that stuck out with me with the design brief was what's on the horizon. Typically the way I like to design is I find a phrase or something that that I think is unique or can be like expanded. So what's on the horizon, you know, people think of a sunset. Whereas I try to, you know, take that even further, and the final design is what's on the horizon from inside the control tower. So it's almost like a whole new, unique horizon, a more unique vantage point for the viewer. And once I have the design and it's approved, then what I do is I create a color template. As you can see here, I've kind of got it broken down into the clock tower shirts. So every shirt that's within a certain region, I have all the colors, and then I create a physical interpretation of all of the colors. And the main reason I do this is when I'm actually painting, I can see the entire color palette. I know what those colors look like when they're dry, because acrylic paint typically dries 2 shades darker than it is when it's wet. So it's nice to see. It also too is when I mix the paint, it's off-site as opposed to when I bring this paint on-site. A lot of times these colors look a lot different depending on the place. So having this with me at all times, I can look at the design as I'm painting, and I can, you know, make a decision on the fly. You know, maybe this blue is a little too dark for what I'm looking for, so I might use something lighter. But having that really keeps me organized, and moving forward. And then over here, this is an image just of all the paint that I mix. Every artist is different. I know a lot of other mural artists that they'll get a template like this and they'll just go to a hardware store and just pick out all the colors that are pre-mixed. Whereas I like to make everything from scratch. That way I can get it exactly how I want it. So once that's done, then it's time for wall prep. This wall didn't really need a lot of prep. It was a brand new space. It was a brand new wall. It was drywall that was already primed. But the main reason I wanted to show this was the actual equipment needed. So with this project, I had, I think it was 14 apprentices. They were all high school kids, and they're not allowed to be on these lifts. So we had to have scaffolding, which isn't my favorite, I have to be honest. A lot of times scaffolding gets in the way. I think it can slow things down, but this is just to show that there's different methods to actually transferring the image to the wall. So here, these are what I like to call design transfer images. So what we do, one of the most important aspects to painting a mural is making sure that you have the right measurements of the wall. And once I do that, then I create a detailed line drawing of the design that I'm going to transfer to the wall. And within that, if you can see, I have a whole grid system on the wall. And this is to scale to the actual wall. And what this helps me do is when you're on a giant wall painting, if you're up close, it's sometimes really hard to know where you are. So this way, I do numbers at the bottom and the alphabet up and down. So, if I'm in a specific place, I can take a piece of chalk and write A15. And then I can look at these charts and know exactly where that specific block is and know what the line work that needs to go there is. So as you can see in this image, we've got the grid up, and then I started to paint in everything, all the line work. I call this the skeleton of the mural. I think this is a very important part because after this step, it's basically fill in, do blending, and finalize the mural. But I think if the mural is transferred and drawn on the wall correctly, I think that makes for a more successful project. So once the image is transferred, then it's a lot of people say this, and it is true, it's a lot like paint by numbers. Up here I have kind of a diagram that's got all of the colors labeled within the mural. And this is very helpful, especially when you have a large group that's helping you paint, so that you're not constantly being asked, what color goes here, what color goes there. You have this, you print these out, give them to everyone, and then they know where every color goes on the wall. And it just keeps you a lot more organized. So these are just more images of painting. It starts out very much block in, just paint by numbers, fill in. And once that's done, you kind of go back through. You can see me working here, adding a lot of blending, a lot of line work to the mural. And again, I never leave home without my color template, so I can always have that. And then these are just some final images of the mural. It was really long, so it's hard to get one large image. That's actually the Boone County Courthouse right there. So I definitely wanted to have some Northern Kentucky pride in there.
Since it is in Northern Kentucky.
What's the length of space? How much space? How many feet
Um,
long is it?
The full dimensions of this mural are roughly 240 feet long by 20 feet high.
How long did it take you to do it?
We started
From design,
the design took about 5 weeks, and then what was difficult about this mural was, if you can see, this is kind of one section here, and then there's a whole nother section over here. And the way they did it was they put scaffolding up on half of it, and we started filling in, and we got about halfway done filling in, and they took this scaffolding down and put it up over here, and we filled that in. So it was kind of difficult. I had 14 apprentices. They did most of the fill-in. And then once that was done, it probably took me another 6 weeks to finalize it.
How much experience do the apprentices have?
How much? Yeah, I want to be nice, but the projects where I have apprentices are always more difficult than without. And you know, I don't want to say anything negative, but a lot of these kids don't really see themselves having a future in the arts. You know, they might be a science major or something else. It's something to do. So half the time they're on their phone, not working, and it's like, am I babysitting or am I painting a mural? So it's got its pluses and negatives. I will say it's very rewarding when you do have an apprentice that's very into it, and then I'm just all in. I want to give them more, you know, work, and a lot of this stuff is, you know, in stages. So like the transfer where you're actually drawing the mural onto the wall, you know, that has its own levels of difficulty. So you kind of have to look at, say you have 10 kids, you have to look at the ones that are more talented and give them the harder jobs. But in another way, those harder jobs look more rewarding to some of the other kids. So they're, well, I want to do what he's doing, you know? So it's kind of a push and pull of trying to figure out what everyone can do, keep everyone busy, everyone have a good time.
Kristen, I admire anybody who can make a living in art because it's so, art, music, the arts are just, it's just really tough. Tell me, or tell us a little bit about your struggles or lack thereof struggles, how that progressed in your life. I'm very curious about that.
Well, I started, like I said, I grew up, I love to be creative, I love to draw, I love to paint. And then I got into high school and I started thinking about those questions. You know, this is gonna be difficult. Do I really wanna do this? So I kind of took the safe route to begin with, and I went into architecture for a few years at the University of Kentucky. And then our third year in architecture, they said, throw away all of your rulers, your sketchbooks. We're gonna do everything on the computer. And I hated that, because I like working with my hands, I like to paint, I like to draw. So I transferred back to NKU and decided to go for it and got into fine art. And then about my senior year at NKU, I forget what it's called. It's called Pendleton. It's over by the casino in Cincinnati. It's like this 8-story building that artists have studios throughout. And they have something called Final Fridays. So every final Friday of every month, it's kind of like a wine and cheese where all of the studios are open to the public. And I started doing that. I mean, even to the point where my professors at NKU frowned upon it, said I shouldn't do it. But I thought it was a benefit because it was kind of a taste of the real world before I graduated school. And patrons would come in and I'd have new paintings on the wall, and it would give me a chance to talk about my work, why I enjoy the work, you know, and actually talk face to face with people. And I think that really helped me in my career as a professional artist. And then after graduation, I did a lot of custom paintings on canvas. And then through the organization Artworks, I got an opportunity to paint a mural in Cincinnati. And after painting that mural, I got another opportunity in Aurora, Indiana. So I painted another mural, and it kind of has snowballed over the last 10 years.
Christian, I know where this is, but to our guests here, if they want to see that live, you don't have to go through security. This is, what you tell them, but is it the upper or lower level Conrad?
So when you go to the airport, say that someone's dropping you off and you're gonna check your bag before you go to security. So you walk straight in, like, and to the right, it used to just be a big glass window. And now they added a whole nother section for like car rental. So if you just, as soon as you walk in on that third floor and you take a right, you can't miss it, it's right there.
Do you use Pantone colors as your palette? Is that how you?
Say that again?
You label your colors by Pantone matching, or how does that work?
Honestly, every project's different. Typically what I do is, once I have a line drawing that's approved by the client, then I'll go back in. A lot of times it's like, there's elements in a design, like in this one, you know, the Roebling Bridge typically needs to be, you know, teal with those brown tones so people know what it is. So I'll normally fill those areas in first and then come back in and try to make a palette that works well with those colors. And then from there, I'll create a color template that I have on my iPad, and I'll set that up in my studio and mix all the colors from scratch. So I use a company it's called Nova Color. It's based out of California, and they specialize in mural paints. So it's a high quality acrylic paint that you can't find at Lowe's or Home Depot. So that's what I use, and I buy it in bulk. So like I'll buy, you know, 5 gallons of white and 5 gallons of yellow, and then I have smaller containers of those that I can use, and you know, kind of like a chemist.
Did you have any part of that, what do they call that, where they have like they project onto buildings?
Blink?
Blink, yeah.
Yeah, I was affiliated with the first year of Blink. I think it was the Ralph Hale Foundation sponsored the first Blink, and they had me paint a large portrait of Ralph Hale in Covington. And they actually projected onto him where it looked like he was blinking during that. That was pretty cool.
That's cool. How do you get the flat wall to look like it's jutting out at you, the relief work or whatever you call that?
A lot of that is just perspective. And you can get a lot of those effects, like I said, through the design process initially. That's actually something that I learned from being in architecture, was line weight goes a long ways. So if the line weight's really thin, it looks pushed back. Whereas if line weight's a lot thicker, it's gonna pull it forward.
I'm just always fascinated by that when you walk by a flat object, how it looks like it's coming at you.
Right, exactly.
And I think what you're talking about too is, I see a lot of chalk drawings like that, where like,
Yeah.
it looks like they're gonna jump into a hole. If you've ever seen those in person, they're like extremely warped. So it only makes sense if you're standing in one area, as opposed to, you know, like, if you actually saw it in person, that hole that looks like it's this big that you're jumping into is actually from here to over there. Like, it has to just be really strewn across the space. So once I finish a mural, I always use a product called Aquathane. It's a water-based material that it protects the paint from UV absorption. And UV rays are probably the #1 killer of murals, because they take away all the vibrancy and stuff like that. So this stuff works really, really well to protect the mural, preserve the mural. And I know Nova Color on their website says if you paint a mural with their paint, it should last anywhere between 25 and 30 years. And then if you add the Aquathane, that normally gives it another 20 years. So it's, 50 years easy.
Is that the coating on?
It's a clear coat.
What's a gallon of paint cost, that type of?
A gallon of Aquathane costs $200. Wow. But it goes a long way. Yeah. But it's expensive.
What does your mural paint cost?
It depends on the color. It could be anywhere, just titanium white is something like $48 a gallon, whereas cobalt blue, cobalt's getting more expensive because they're using them in car batteries.
Right.
Cobalt blue, I think, is now $300 a gallon.
Wow.
It's expensive. Yeah, I can go through another example of a mural project. So this is a mural I did in 2021 in association with the city of Lawrenceburg. They came to me and had this perfect wall right in downtown, and they were looking for something, to add a spark to the whole downtown scene of Lawrenceburg. So So this lays out kind of their goals for the design of the mural. So this is the wall before I painted it. And like I said, one of the most important aspects is getting the correct measurements. A lot of times it's hard because you don't have a lift on hand. So I use kind of one of those laser measurement pointers. And that kind of gives me a rough estimate of the size of the wall. But yeah, the big thing that they wanted was ties to the history of Lawrenceburg, and of course the history of whiskey making in the town, and of course the river, which is primarily why the town is there. So these are a couple early design templates that I did. As I said before, there's just all these different random elements that I can take and I can plug in or I can pull out. I'm also playing with color. The big thing with this wall that I thought ended up being very successful was the shape of the wall. One thing I love about my job is, every call that I get about painting a mural, the walls are always different. So it's really fun to play with, aesthetics and composition to create movement, otherwise, on a two-dimensional space. So this is kind of the final design template that they chose with the color palette. This is actually kind of to scale what a person would be like walking by. So this wall was a little different than CBG because it's exterior. Yeah. And the wall, I think the wall was over 150 years old. So it was showing its age. So it took quite a bit more wall prep to get it ready for paint. Typically what I do is I first pressure wash the whole wall, get anything loose off the wall. And then I use this product called TSP. And you mix that with water and you basically give the wall a bath. And what TSP does is it kills anything organic that might be growing on the wall, algae, fungus. And you want that because once you prime, if something's still growing underneath, paint's gonna start chipping off the wall. So making sure that the surface is nice and clean and ready is very important. And then the next step was, I did 3 coats of masonry primer. I use, it's called Luxon. Sherwin-Williams makes it. It's a really good product. So I prime the wall. What else? And then here's my transfer image. As I said before, I've got all the numbers at the bottom and all the letters going up and down. And again, that really helps you when you're, I'm probably as tall as one of these windows. So when you're actually up on the wall, it's really nice to know exactly where you're on the wall, especially when you're transferring all this line work. I've had experiences in the past where I've had an apprentice spend an entire day on a section of drawing the design up on the wall, and no one caught it, but at the end of the day, we realized that she was off maybe 2 feet. So that just had to be painted over and started over the next day, so.
Did you use a covering on the windows to maybe, like some
I
kind of
did.
image?
No, I didn't. I just primed everything. I left the windows untouched. The big thing with having windows, or these are like power lines and AC units, it's really important to measure correctly so you know where everything is. I've had experiences in the past where, as you can see, his hand's kind of covered by the window. So knowing exactly where those things are is very helpful to orient the design on the wall correctly, so you're not cutting off really important aspects of the wall, or of the design. So once we had it primed, we snapped all our grid lines. It might be a little hard to see, but I have all of these dots throughout the wall. The reason I do that is it's an exterior wall, so when you're snapping those grid lines, if you have a heavy rain, it could wash those grid lines off. And a lot of times that takes a day or 2 to snap off those grid lines. So just as an insurance policy for myself, I go back through and make little hash marks so I know where the whole grid is. And then this image over here, this just showing us starting to transfer the image. That was actually that's the largest scissor lift I've ever had. I think it went up 55 feet.
Those are kind of fun.
Except when you're all the way at the top,
Yeah.
and you feel that lean back and forth.
Yeah, a little wave.
Christian, I know they're getting ready to cut you off, but.
No, Gary's getting ready to cut you.
Can you say, what's your most favorite mural you've ever done, or do you wanna say?
It might be this mural.
Yeah.
I mean, I like every. Yeah, I'd say probably Lawrenceburg. The biggest reason I think I enjoyed this mural the most was, I mean, they had a lot of design requests of me, but once they let me go and design the mural, I felt like they let me do it the way I wanted to do it.
Christian, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Christian, remind everybody what your website address is, because I know there's a lot of examples on your website.
Yeah. So everything I kind of shared today is all on my website. My website is christiandallas.com. It's pretty easy. And I've got business cards too, if you want one.
Very good. Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And as Senator Schiffel mentioned earlier, next week is State Senator Robin Lesh, and I've got to say a happy Thanksgiving up front. So everybody have a great week, and, yeah. Get your, oh, Jim.
Well, Dwayne donated some UK items month and a half ago, and we're gonna raffle those off at $5. Instead of doing a gift card, that'll be next week's raffle to end the year. So bring an extra 5 if you can. Thank you. Or 100.
Yeah.
Kinda short.
Thank you, Christian.
My name tag back for.